Hi YouTube, this is Darkon633, and today I'm bringing a review of the Transformers Energon Deluxe Class Roadblock. Now, this is the first of my segment of Blast from the Past reviews for the month of September, and I'm going to be working on the least favorite series in the Energon trilogy in general. I know a lot of people are not too fond of Energon, and Superlink was only just a little bit better, but sometimes by far worse at times from what I heard. And me personally, I didn't really like Energon too much, but I did like some of the ideas that they were trying to introduce in the series. It's just, and a major other issues that just kind of made it kind of more of a setback rather than something that could have been something very great. But anyways, we'll now look at Roadblock, which is actually the repaint and retool of Inferno, and it's actually canonized in the show after Inferno died. So if those of you haven't seen Energon, I apologize, but the show is quite old, so there isn't much I can say there. But anyways, we'll now look at Roadblock more close up. Now, as you can see on his shoulder, one of the big gimmicks for Energon, which is a cool gimmick since it doesn't affect the toy in any form, due to the fact it's just a piece of plastic star which attaches to certain parts of the body which represent the Energon crystals that they used in the show to power up. So basically it shows that he's an Autobot and so on. And pretty much all the deluxe figures came with one of these crystals. Now what's interesting is that throughout the line there are actually two versions of the crystals. We have the lighter red one and the darker red one. There's also a third version which was only used for the combiners in the series since they were actually supposed to represent Super Energon rather than Standard Energon. Now, for the colors of the actual regular red Energon stars, if I remember correctly, there isn't a real reason why they're different colors. Basically, it was just a running change down the line for the later on characters which had a light brighter crystal. But anyways, we'll now be moving to the figure. The figure actually has quite a lot of articulation for its time. His head is on a ball joint, which allows full movement all around. Sorry, didn't get in camera. And it works pretty well, and he actually looks far better than a lot of other Transformers in terms of head articulation, looking upwards. Can kind of look down, but his headpiece does kind of push down if you try doing so. His arms are pretty much just on pegs, where it allows full movement there. So you can see in there. So they just swivel around, and it also can bend in and out due to transformation. He does have a single elbow joint, but it does bend both directions due to transformation. And this isn't really an articulation piece, and the camera is getting out of focus, and I don't know what's causing that. But all it does is turns and so on, and that's pretty much the weapon. He has no waist articulation since he doesn't really have a regular waist. And that's also due to the fact they have the combining gimmick this season. His legs are on kind of pins on the back here, as you can see there. It's kind of a weird joint, but it allows full movement all around, kind of, and it kind of gets in the way due to the side pieces here. But it does have about a 90-degree knee articulation due to transformation, and his feet can pivot just a tad bit, so he does have quite a lot of movement for a toy of its time. The transformation is really simple, and it's pretty much the exact same thing if you have the Inferno mold, except for a few changes like the head sculpt and so on. So one of the only major changes I see is that the head just pushes down, while the Inferno mold, the earpieces would collapse onto its face. So that's pretty much most of the difference there. You're going to make sure that all the sides are straight, since it allows it to collapse properly, like so, both sides. Then we're going to put away the head, so that's what causes the high amount of head articulation due to the transformation. His legs will now collapse upwards. Make sure that the head is actually just sticking out like this, so it is a bit awkward at times. I'm going to peg these legs together and snap together. Then you're going to push away the front feet pieces, turn these around, and they're going to bend in like this. And actually, I think, if I remember correctly now, looking at it, his head just stay into place, so that's why it collapses, so it's no longer visible. Push these in, And then, what you're going to do next is make sure that everything is collapses properly. Sometimes it gets a bit difficult. You're going to put away the pieces here. As you can see, it's already kind of misaligned, so we need to continue to fiddle around with it so that everything meshes into place. As you can see, it looks a lot better now, but it still can be a bit tricky, and due to the age of the toy, it does have a few problems here and there. And all you gotta do is turn this around, make sure that the crane piece is facing this direction, and it kind of just pegs into a little empty gap there. And then you have Roadblock in its vehicle mode. Now it does turn into this construction crane type of vehicle, but due to the aesthetics of Energon toys, it does look a bit strange. Even though it kind of resembles an Earth vehicle, a lot of the vehicle modes in this season had quite a bit of a Cybertronian kind of look to it, because it was kind of supposed to be representing a super futuristic future, sorry to be redundant there, in the world that they were living in at the time. So you can see that it definitely does have some cues of modern Earth vehicles, but at the same time, a lot of parts just don't look like a regular modern day vehicle. Now, this does flap as well in this mode, since it's actually for one of the 2 combination modes that you can actually do with these toys, and that's what I actually liked about Energon. Since each of the toys had some kind of combining gimmick, it did add a lot of play value if you collect all the figures in the line especially, or just a couple, and it can just mix and match between the 2 Deluxes or the 2 Voyagers. Since you can't really connect the Voyager to the Deluxe due to the sizes being that much varying, it's not going to really work. But that also was the thing I didn't like about Energon, since the combiners had this charm, since they were the only ones that were able to do that. And because of what happened in Energon, pretty much everyone could combine, and it just kind of totally ruined the experience for me as a kid, even though I do still like some of the toys in the line. Anyways, you can still attach an Energon star in this mode, since this piece is still exposed either way, so you could just attach it if you wished. And it does roll pretty well, and as you can see, the wheels actually do all lay on the ground mostly, so you do expect that it does work as long as you put everything together. He does have a firing missile, which I'm just going to fire out, and this is just a repaint. If I remember correctly, the regular one was a different color, but I forgot exactly what color Inferno's missile was, since I lost it all these years. But that's it for this mode, and it does look pretty nice, regardless of being a bit unlike a normal Earth vehicle. To transfer it back into robot mode, you're just going to pull the legs down, push down these panel pieces, push up the feet, disconnect them. And now you got mostly the robot mode already. You're going to disconnect pieces here and pull the shoulders outward and push the arms down. Just to make it easier, we're going to turn this and keep that together. And then expose the head once more. Let's get everything aligned. You have Roadblock back in his robot mode. Now, as I mentioned earlier, this does have another function. Since it is a part of the Energon line, he can transform 2 different ways. And bear with me, since it's been a long time since I did this, I don't exactly remember how to do this. I probably won't be showing each and every one of the combinations for the rest of this month, but just to show how it looks like with at least this combination we're just going to show here. Now, as you can see, inside the chest, there's these connection ports. Now, this is for the combining gimmick, which we'll get to now. You need to fiddle around with some of the transformation. It's kind of like a mistransformation, but at the same time, it becomes a lot better once you get them together, and you'll see why it will look kind of strange at first. Now, I think this is actually supposed to come off when you go into the combination, so I'm just going to pull that off, and there you go. So now, we take, ironically, we're going to actually taking a Energon Inferno here, so we got the original mold here. We're going to transform it into the head version of it, so let's see. Now, if I remember correctly, this actually becomes a giant backpack. So we're just going to push these out from here. It comes something like this. Then we're going to push the head here, if I remember correctly. It actually just kind of sits there. So it kind of sits out in the open slightly like this. And then these, if I remember correctly, are just the regular hands for the combination. Let's see if I can try to get these a little more aligned properly. I think if I remember correctly, it looks something like this for the top combination. And then we're just going to connect the two parts together. And let me see which way actually it's supposed to be. Everything is aligned properly. Since it's not really traditional to attach them at the same time, it is a bit strange. So I think this is how he looks like combined. Now, as you can see, some combinations just don't work out very well. And I think I totally mistransformed this, since, as I mentioned earlier, I'm pretty sure this toy wasn't really made in mind that these will attach together. But you pretty much get the picture what the Powerlinx toys did back in the day for the Energon toys, and it kind of just reverses it if you wish to put them on the leg mode and everything. So you pretty much get the main idea how these Powerlinx toys worked, and I think it was a cool gimmick. It's just some toys really didn't kind of approach it in the most correct ways. So overall, I still think Energon Roadblock is still a really nice figure. And personally, I think he's the superior of the two versions of the toy released during the year. So I highly recommend picking up Roadblock, even if you have the Inferno mold, since I just think it looks a lot better, and for me at least, it was a lot less loose than the Inferno mold. So overall, I still think it's a pretty cool toy, and I highly recommend picking him up. Sorry for repeating myself, but there isn't much else to say about the Energon toys after you get to this point. So anyways, please comment or subscribe, and check out Hero Taku and Gideon blog for the latest in hero news. We have talk about Transformers and various other things heroes related. Also, check me out on Twitter under Darkon633. Please check out the channels down below, including the WRW podcast and the other channels down below for various other reviews and other things. So anyways, I'll be back to you with another Energon review next week, but for now, I'll be seeing you on YouTube. Bye.